Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. Last year, here around this time, AEW presented WrestleDream. Kind of in a way, a tribute show to the late great Antonio Inoki. And the reason I say kind of a tribute show is because it's mainly a regular pay-per-view, but named after, named for Antonio Inoki, who had a dream for pro wrestling. Of course, Antonio Inoki, he founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and so for the second year in a row, AEW presents WrestleDream. So it's time to talk about what went down. And we do have quite a bit to talk about. How it's core, or this time not in Seattle this year, but in Tacoma instead. So of course, as always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man, who enjoys a good time, and I definitely had a really good time with this show. A lot of really great stuff. Some questionable stuff, of which we'll get to, but overall I'd say a really solid show. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of know how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I like and dislike about each match, and we're going to go match by match down the card. But first, we have some pre-show matches. Of course, I didn't watch the pre-show, so I kind of missed that, and I kind of almost missed quite a bit of the main show as well. I tried watching it on the go, but unfortunately, my Wi-Fi data, like my mobile data, does tend to act shoddy sometimes. So, there was one or two matches that I ended up missing, so I had to go back and rewatch those. But in the meantime, on the pre-show / 0 hour, Brian Cage defeated Atlantis Jr., so he is the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Anna Jay defeated Harley Cameron. The Acclaimed defeated MXM Collection, and who were accompanied by Rico of all people. Which Rico, admittedly, that was a pretty big surprise. For my Ruthless Aggression era fans, you may remember Rico and his fantastic theme song, which I'm not going to sing only because I have a terrible singing voice, and it would not do that song justice. It's definitely, look it up. It's a phenomenal song. I'm sure you know what song I'm talking about. But Rico was a surprise to see. He, especially because for the most part he had stepped away from the wrestling business. He had become a cop in Las Vegas, but making an appearance here, teaming with MXM, and honestly, if there was anyone to team with them, it definitely was Rico. But Billy Gunn, even having interaction with them, of course, Billy Gunn, Daddy Askham, tagging along with the Acclaimed, and so Rico was brought in to counter that. But it was nice to have a little interaction there. Them having a little bit of history back in the aforementioned Ruthless Aggression days, especially with like the Billy and Chuck tag team, which that was something. And then finally the conglomeration, that being Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly of the conglomeration, and as well as the Outrunners, that being Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, defeated the Dark Order of Alex Reynolds and John Silver, and the Premier Athletes of that being Ari Daivari and Tony Nese. So the Outrunners getting quite a bit of traction and everything. Kind of getting a little bit of a following as of late. So hopefully see big things from them as we move. As we not only, I guess, move into October, really, even though we're at like the halfway point, but as we go further along in AEW, nevertheless, on to the show proper. We start off with Switchblade Jay White looking to get some revenge against Hangman Adam Page. So, this one kind of twofold in a way. Not only Jay White coming to the aid of his fellow Bullet Club Gold members, there's because Hangman Page has been kind of feuding with them as of late, but also because I totally forgot about this, that it was Hangman Page who defeated Jay White in I believe the quarterfinals of the Owen Hart Classic. So Jay White was taken out of the tournament and actually was injured for a time. So making his return there. And this match, and admittedly, you're probably gonna hear me say this about a lot of matches on this card. This match was a lot of fun. Definitely a really strong way to open the show. Some pretty fun moments between the two, and the story thread throughout of Jay White, deliberately targeting Hangman Page's leg, I think was really cool, including the shin breaker on the ring ramp, and the finish is a really smart way to finish and to really tie together that story with Hangman Page not quite having the leg strength of the Buckshot Lariat, but tries to power through anyway just to be hit with the Blade Runner. That was a phenomenal way to end this match, and this was a really fun opening match between these two. Now, whether or not the feud continues between Hangman Page and Bullet Club Gold slash the Bang Bang Gang, we will have to find out. But yeah, really strong opener. But the fun continues as for the AEW Women's World Championship. If Willow Nightingale seeks to take the title from Mariah May, hey, was she successful? Well, no. But this was another really strong, really fun match. Willow looked absolutely phenomenal, even in defeats, and really, that's what you want, even in defeat, for your challenger to still look really good, and that's precisely what they were able to accomplish with Willow Nightingale here, and Mariah May ultimately putting away Willow with the Storm Zero. So Mariah May, adopting the Storm Zero, which of course was kind of a nod slash mockery of Toni Storm, but putting Willow Nightingale away with the Storm Zero. I know Mariah May's not the only one, but yeah. So Mariah May putting away Willow Nightingale here. So what will be next for Mariah May? We will have to wait and see. But even though, like I said, Willow not getting the win here still looked really good, and Mariah May, it gets the win to retain. But next up in AEW TNT Championship action, the Scapegoat Jack Perry, he takes on the wrestler Katsuyori Shibata. So I probably should mention how we got some of these points. Willow Nightingale won the opportunity to face Mariah May here. Meanwhile, Katsuyori Shibata challenged Jack Perry to this match. Jack Perry initially saying he'll think about it before attacking Shibata and accepting the challenge. And so we get this match here, and Jack Perry more than able to hold his own against and Shibata. You can tell Jack Perry leaning into some of that strong style from his time in New Japan, and carrying some of that over. But looking really solid against Shibata, and Shibata is phenomenal as well, of course. In fact, that even carries toward the ending, with Shibata having Jack Perry in the sleeper, and Jack Perry having to roll onto the back to get the pin on Shibata. So, Jack Perry doesn't look dominant in victory, but it looks like he eked out the win and escaped. Which, of all the ways to protect both champion and challenger, that kind of is one of them. You do kind of run the risk of it looking kind of goofy, because that's the spot they've done before, or with the pin, and normally it is broken up at this time, but this time, the person gets out of the sleeper so that their shoulders aren't pinned on the mats. But in this case, Jack Perry ekes out the win, and so Shibata looks strong because Jack Perry essentially was about to fade. He was about to pass out, at least in kayfabe, of course. But then Jack ekes out the win to remain TNT champion, and attacking Shibata afterwards. But Danny Garcia makes the save and confronts Jack Perry, and Daniel Garcia not only coming to the aid of his friend Shibata, but I believe also staking his claim to the TNT Championship. But then MJF returns, coming back from filming his movie, that being Happy Gilmore 2. who ain't coming back to confront Daniel Garcia, and then Jack Perry lays out Garcia from behind. So MJF then attacks Garcia from there, and MJF is once again in possession of the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And now they're explaining in kayfabe, which I think I forgot to bring up, that in kayfabe they're having Daniel Garcia be the one who stole the Diamond Ring, when I believe in reality it was like lost. But MJF found it in a pawn shop in Buffalo, so he's able to get it back. Like now, I don't know if they actually, I'm not sure how they actually found it, if they found it somewhere else or they just made MJF a new one. But MJF, sure enough, goes to use the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but out comes the returning Adam Cole, no longer limping, in fact sprinting down to the ring, and of course MJF hightails it out of here. So Adam Cole's face again, and the Hangs look like they're about to. It looks like they're about to pick up the feud again between MJF and Adam Cole. Now, this is what caused some questions and what caused some head scratching, because how is Adam Cole face when, and previously he had turned heel on MJF, turned on him, was revealed to be the one who stole the devil mask, as formed the Undisputed Kingdom, and then MJF came back as a face to confront him at Double or Nothing. And I think, and yeah, that's a valid question, but I think it does also have to do with the fact that now MJF's heel again. So Adam Cole wanting to get his lick back from Double or Nothing. They probably didn't want to do heel versus heel, so they said, screw it, let's just have Adam Cole turn face again. So admittedly, kind of a weird way to pull it off. But then again, and the Undisputed Kingdom did kind of turn face as well. That being Roderick Strong and the Kingdom. So I'm guessing that means the Undisputed Kingdom is now face question mark. But it does. Admittedly, I probably can and probably will do a video dedicated to my thoughts on like the Undisputed Kingdom as a stable, but admittedly is kind of weird. But the main thing to know is that at Adam Cole's face, MJF of course is heel. He turned heel on Daniel Garcia, and they're getting set to battle. Upcoming, most likely at Full Gear, which would kind of bring things full circle for those two. But nevertheless, next up, from one mid-card championship to the other, has for the AEW International Championship. Konosuke Takeshita and Ricochet both seek to take the championship from the international champion Will Ospreay. So, Will Ospreay won the international championship back at All In, and has been defending it since. Defended against Ricochet on the 5th episode of on the 5th anniversary of Dynamite. Not the 5th episode. That was all the way back in 2019. The 5th anniversary of Dynamite. That ended it ended in a double count. Then it ended in a disqualification, and in which the fans did not like. Of course, Takeshita attacking both Will Ospreay and Ricochet after it was believed that he left, but it was revealed Don Callis was the one who sent Takeshita to take out Ospreay, stemming back to who at Grand Slam when Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher sought to take the AEW World Tag Team Championships from the Young Bucks, and Ospreay not willing to pull the trigger on using the screwdriver and preventing Kyle Fletcher from doing so, which ultimately cost Ospreay and Fletcher the match. So Don Callis essentially turning on Will Ospreay, essentially because Will Ospreay didn't want to win dirty. Interesting heel turn reason, not wanting to break the rules. Essentially, it's not really a heel turn because Don Callis was already heel and everything, but nevertheless, so it leads to this triple threat match here. Now, did you have to sacrifice the match between Ospreay and Ricochet just for that? Was there an easier way to go about this? Most likely, but I mean, we are here now. But this match was a lot of fun and all three men definitely brought it. Did cause some discourse. There were some moments within the match, and I can't go spot for spot because it honestly wouldn't do the match justice. This match definitely was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend checking it out, but did cause some discourse, or there were some points of no selling slash has some fighting spirit that a lot of people didn't really like, but me, I definitely enjoyed it for the most part. And remember, these are all my opinions, so if you disagree with any of these, that is totally fine. But this match was still a lot of fun. They even did the nod to the triple threat at Unbreakable 2005 between Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Christopher Daniels, where Ricochet and Ospreay kept kicking Takeshita. Takeshita told them to stop, and they both kicked Takeshita from there. Takeshita with a huge pile driver through the table onto Ricochet. But the ending when Don Callis goes in to use the screwdriver on Ospreay. Ospreay stops him, but a man in a hood takes his own screwdriver and hits Will Ospreay with it. And the man in the hood, Jimmy Uso. No, I'm just kidding. It was Kyle Fletcher. Yes, Kyle Fletcher has turned his back on his good friend. And remember, all this just because Will Ospreay wanted to play by the rule. Also, he's attacked. Takeshita takes him out and scores the win, and is the new AEW International Champion, in which I think is really awesome to see. I think my predictions, I believe I did predict that Ospreay would retain, but I'm not mad at Takeshita picking up the win here and becoming the new International Champion. He's been, and especially getting a sizable push, especially now that he's a heel under Don Callis and everything. So him winning the International Championship here was really awesome to see. And now we'll see how things further unfold between Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, and afterwards, Fletcher nailing the Tiger Driver 91 on Will Ospreay, bringing things full circle essentially, and kind of developing an even separate storyline over a move. But we will have to see how things unfold. But yeah, this match, a lot of fun. But next up in between matches, we get the return of Swerve Strickland, and we are in Tacoma, of course. So Swerve comes out, he addresses the crowd, but then he and Prince Nana are confronted by MVP and Shelton Benjamin. MVP and Shelton Benjamin are now in AEW. They are now all elite, and they seemingly forming their own faction, and they're forming the Hurt Business. I mean, the Hurt Syndicate. But MVP, he wanting to recruit Swerve Strickland, and Swerve gives props to both MVP and Shelton Benjamin, and he talks about the history he has with MVP. He talks about how being inspired by Shelton Benjamin, how he paved the way for black wrestlers, but ultimately decides he's sticking with Prince Nana, saying that Prince Nana is family, and he does not turn his back on family. So I guess Swerve must have been, and I guess in Swerve's absence, hence All Out, he must have been taking some lessons from Dominic Toretto. But MVP and Shelton Benjamin are very cross about this, saying that Swerve doesn't exist without them, and seeking to take Swerve out. So how will things play into it, and will Bobby Lashley be a factor in this? We will find out. But next up in 2 out of 3 falls action, and the Beast Mordos takes on Hologram. Now this match is the first I'm seeing from both these guys, but I must say I definitely liked what I saw. This match was a whole lot of fun. Has some really good lucha action, and including from Mordos, who's incredibly agile for a man his size, and Hologram being able to do what he does. As both guys absolutely brought it. Ultimately, in the end, Hologram getting the win and staying undefeated. And Hologram, who I probably should refer to as almost Shay, because remember when he was the person that everybody thought was going to be Ricochet? Those were some good times. But now both men are in the company, and Hologram and the Beast Mordos. I'm glad both are getting a push, but I'm also glad they had this stage here to really show what they're all about, and he brought it here. So yeah, just a really, really fun match between these two. Next up in kind of a grudge slash open challenge, Darby Allin and and laid out the open challenge, and it was responded to by Brody King, who of course is honoring the House of Black. So Darby Allin, after losing his title shot to Jon Moxley at Grand Slam, laying out the challenge for WrestleDream here, her open challenge. Whoever wants to come and get at it, and Brody King answered the challenge. And I figured the challenge would probably be answered at WrestleDream, but nope, they had it answered before then. And which, I mean, nothing wrong with it, but just kind of subvert expectations, but nothing wrong with that. But nevertheless, they do bring up the history of Darby Allin and Brody King, and and that this is the 7th appearance between both these men, or actually, this is the 8th appearance. They've met 7 times previous, and out of all 7 of those encounters, Darby Allin won 1 of those, and Darby Allin in the other ones has never been able to pin Brody King. So you probably know where this is going, but pretty much a David Goliath type battle. Darby Allin and using his speed and his agility to try to combat Brody King. Although Brody also agile in his own right. Ultimately, Darby putting away Brody King first with the coffin drop to the outside, then the coffin drop inside once again to put away Brody King, and just a fun big man versus little man match. They show respect afterwards. Pretty much, yeah, that's a fun one. They had kind of the callbacks when Brody King eliminated Darby Allin in the battle royal. I forgot what they said the battle royal was for. It was a while ago. They had some callbacks of that nature, but ultimately Darby Allin getting the win over Brody King. They show respect afterwards. It is interesting to see them kind of flirting with singles competition, and I mentioned this in my predictions, and kind of playing with singles competition for the members of the House of Black. Me personally, I would like some people had kind of say they want to see Brody King fully split away. I don't know about fully split away, but I'd also have them do some single stuff as well. Next up for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks, that being Matthew Nicholas Jackson, the EVPs, defending against Private Party, that being Zay and Quen. So I guess they're just being referred to as Zay and Quen now. No longer Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quen, respectively, but now Zay and Quen. Sure, okay. And before that, had they been building up big time to this match. Private Party, he defeated Top Flight and I forget the other team in order to get this opportunity here. It was a triple threat tag team match, and Private Party won there. They brought up the history between Private Party and the Young Bucks, them beating the Young Bucks all the way back in the early days of Dynamite back in 2019. So, will Lightning strike twice, and will it be for the Tag Team Championships? As part of Private Party's entrance, they have kind of the motivational speech from their trainer, Amazing Red, telling them that now is the time, the party's over, or it's time to get serious, it's time to buckle down, it's time to focus, it's time to beat the Young Bucks, and it's time to become the champions. And Private Party comes out, shots no more, or they got new theme music. So will they be able to who beat the Young Bucks here? No, as it turns out. But before we get to that, at the match once again, a lot of fun. Like both teams very agile, very athletic, having some very nice almost moments where you thought it was going to be over, including Isaiah Cassidy surviving an EVP trigger before ultimately succumbing to the TK driver. I love how they still call it TK driver, even though the Young Bucks have as well as the rest of the elite have beat up Tony Khan. but ultimately he falling to the TK driver, and now Private Party has to regroup and figure out what's next. Next, like I said, match was a lot of fun. On both teams definitely brought it. Like Private Party, he definitely he almost sold a lot of people, myself included, that they were gonna win. It didn't seem like they had no chance against the Bucks. There were plenty of moments where it seemed like this was gonna be and the Young Bucks doing what they do best, of course. But it seemed really strange to not have Private Party. Pick up the win here. Like a lot of people wanted it. Private Party has been on fire as like they've been getting this sizable push. They've been going after the Young Bucks. They had They had kind of the they had kind of that pre-video package as part of their entrance, saying, now's the time, it's go time, it's time to win the tag team championships. You did have not only Top Flight but Stokely Hathaway, who broke away from Chris Statlander. Why? Who offered his services to Private Party. He and was rejected. You have him looking very upset in the crowd, at least until Private Party loses but you had all this stuff. You gave him new theme music and everything just to have them lose and not capture the tag team titles. Like, this seemed very much like a layup victory. Like you give Private Party this big push. You give him leading to this big moment, the big moment of them finally capturing the tag titles. They mentioned on commentary this is apparently Private Party's first chance at the tag team titles, which, how has it been 5 years and this is the first chance that Private Party's got at the tag team title? That is crazy to think about. But yeah, having all of this and then they don't get the win over the Bucks. Like, it seemed almost academic. It seemed almost elementary. Like, it would be kind of predictable having all this stuff up and be like, oh, of course, or it's kind of predictable. Of course, Private Party's going to win. But predictable doesn't always mean bad. In fact, sometimes it's quite the opposite. In this case, it's like I said, it seemed very much like a layup for Private Party to beat the Bucks here, but that's not what happened. And you know what? Apparently, a lot of people in the back felt the same way. Apparently now the reports coming out that there was a lot of people internally who believed that now was the time for Private Party, that the Private Party absolutely should have won this match. And you know what? I agree with those people. Like I'm sure, hopefully the push continues, and hopefully maybe Private Party wins it down the line. But this seemed like it. This seemed like the moment. And like, what was all that build up then for? Or obviously to sell the match and everything. But it seemed like the way it was set up, it seemed almost academic. It seemed like it was supposed to happen. And do I think it's full on a situation like Cody not winning the championship back at WrestleMania 39? I don't know if I go that far, but it seemed very much like the way they're building this up. Oh yeah, cool. Like the way they're building this up strong. Oh yeah, of course, Private Party's winning this one. Like the way they're building this up, it would seem like, oh yeah, of course it makes sense. And it's for Private Party to win here. Like it seems like we were sold on one thing, but that's not what we were given. And just for them to do the complete opposite. And yes, pro wrestling can be unpredictable, but it seemed like the time for Private Party. But nevertheless, Private Party is going to regroup. And don't give me the just because they're over doesn't mean they deserve the titles excuse, because then in that case, how do you explain the Acclaimed? But nevertheless, let's move on to someone who we didn't want to win a championship in the semi-main event, as Mark Briscoe defends the Ring of Honor World Championship against Chris Jericho. Oh, the Learning Tree. Why are we getting this match? Well, for two reasons. For starters, because Chris Jericho apparently wants his 9th World Championship, and because Chris Jericho decides to make fun of Jay Briscoe. Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree stable have been feuding with the conglomeration as of late. Chris Jericho challenged Mark Briscoe to this match. Chris Jericho has beaten Mark Briscoe before her, and now is taking his claim to once again be Ring of Honor World Champion, and bring up how Mark Briscoe will never be as good as Jay Briscoe. Them's his fighting words. So, will Mark Briscoe be able to retain against Learning Tree here? Well, it turns out yes, but this match was pretty solid. As well. Both men, and even with like Jericho's being up there in age, is he able to deliver a 5-star classic? Not really, but he's still able to put on a solid match. And Mark Briscoe, also able to put on a pretty good match as well. And the conglomeration coming to the aid of Mark Briscoe, to even the odds against the Learning Tree. Of course, that being Orange Cassidy and Rocky Romero. At least Orange Cassidy still has one friend left from Best Friends in Rocky Romero. But yeah, so ultimately Mark Briscoe putting away Chris Jericho. And man, there were some close calls, including Chris Jericho hitting Mark Briscoe with a J driller. But Mark Briscoe powering out. How come on, Chris? You don't have that Briscoe brothers spark. Or I don't know if that's actually a thing, but no, you kind of get what I mean. But ultimately, Mark Briscoe putting away Chris Jericho with the J driller in order to pick up the win here. So, pretty solid match for the most part. Yeah, so not a bad match. But last but certainly not least, in your main event, a main event that had a totally normal ending and did not cause any stir at all. Bryan Danielson defends the World Championship against a man he never thought he'd have to. His former friend turned now bitter enemy. He is former Blackpool Combat Club stablemate in Jon Moxley. So Jon Moxley, as I mentioned earlier, took he won Darby Allin's title shot back at Grand Slam, and of course the Blackpool Combat Club has turned on Bryan Danielson, sans Wheeler Yuta, who's kind of come to the aid of Bryan Danielson, kind of still in Bryan Danielson's corner. Moxley kind of starting his own faction, and now has recruited Marina Shafir alongside Claudio Castagnoli and Pac, and stating that it's not up to him, everything, all the chaos that's been caused, all the repeated attacks against Bryan Danielson is not up to him. It's not Moxley's choice. So whose choice is it? Will we find out in the show? No. At least not yet. But as for this match was also really solid. This match was great. There are some matches on the card that are great from an action and wrestling standpoint. This one, and while it did have that, was mainly great from an emotional standpoint. I mean, of course, there is the stipulation of Bryan Danielson retiring from full-time wrestling should he lose the AEW World Title at some point. And so there is always that looming ahead, looming above the head of not only Bryan Danielson but everyone watching. But then also, there is like I said, the aforementioned carnage caused by Jon Moxley. So both play into this match. So there is kind of that feeling, of impending doom, perhaps throughout the match, while also the former friends turn bitter rivals, and of course there is Marina Shafir doing what she does. Of course, eventually being caught and being ejected from ringside. Of course, you have the concrete spot. Not a whole lot of blood in this one. There is some, but not a whole lot. Which is a bit surprising by Moxley standards. Actually, I can't really say that. It's more so 50-50. But yeah. So both men, I think, did really well and had a lot of action. Ultimately, Moxley putting Danielson away, putting him in the sleeper in order for Bryan Danielson to pass out. So Jon Moxley is now the new AEW World Champion, but now that the match is over, and now that Jon Moxley is champion, now that Bryan Danielson's full-time in-ring career here is over, now I'm sure it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. So the Blackpool Combat Club comes down, they attack Bryan Danielson. they fend off all the security and everything that tries to come in to stop them. Wheeler Yuta shows up at first seemingly to help Bryan Danielson, and they also get some members of the roster such as Darby Allin and Hook to help out as well. But then Swerve, Wheeler Yuta takes out Darby Allin. I believe it was Darby Allin he hit with the knee. He takes him out and then attacks Danielson on his own, and against his better judgment and against his will is handed the plastic bag and suffocates Bryan Danielson in himself. Oh man, it's all out all over again. And Wheeler has Bryan Danielson suffocated with the plastic bag, and it's funny because they do what they did pretty much at All Out. Where of course on like the AEW Twitter they oftentimes post like the highlights and everything, but they make the post saying that similar to what they did for All Out, due to the graphic nature, we won't be posting the clip of what happened to Bryan Danielson. I'm like, then stop doing what you did to Bryan Danielson. And I'm not saying I'll leave my thoughts. I'll leave it there for now. How eventually they are compelled to stop. The Blackpool Combat Club is compelled to stop, and I should say Blackpool Combat Club question mark because it kind of goes back and forth as to whether or not it is still the BCC. But they're compelled to stop. They leave through the crowd out, and Wheeler Yuta looks very upset by what he did. So this caused a whole lot of controversy and a whole lot of stir, more swiftly on social media, which is kind of a given. But had a lot of mixed opinion on the ending of this match. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people hated it. There is that sense of doom and gloom afterwards, with like Orange Cassidy looking upset, Darby Allin looking upset, Daniel Garcia looks upset, Hook looks upset because they watched the man literally almost die again, and a lot of people were upset by this because as a lot of people's argument was, oh man, and Bryan Danielson doesn't get this hero send off. He gets kind of like beaten down and dragged out. But here's my thing. Here's what I'll say about it. I can understand some people being uncomfortable because a man and in kayfabe almost died. But at the same time, you have to keep this in mind. With this story, if it was anybody else and Bryan Danielson lost, maybe you get that hero send off. Not here, because this new faction is all about taking over AEW and beating down anybody who stands in their way. Trying to really build how dangerous this new faction is. So why would it be a civil way for Bryan Danielson to go out, especially if the story he does heavily revolve around Danielson and Moxley and the other members of the BCC question mark. That's probably how I'll refer to them now as the BCC question mark. But in that case, he's having that send off for Bryan Danielson. He'll probably be back. He's just retired from full time, so he's switching over to part time. So he'll probably be back from time to time. But why not have it be kind of this doom and gloom, and now have kind of this resistance to step up to this new faction, and if that makes any sense. And now how we're seeing kind of, I don't know if this is truly a 1-to-1 comparison, but I'll kind of compare it similarly to the NWO. When the NWO took over, you had the NWO people join the NWO and everything, and them trying to take over WCW. But then you also had the group of Rebel, those the people who weren't standing for that and who wanted to take it to the NWO. And I believe that's what AEW is looking to do here. Bryan Danielson's gonna be out; he's written off for now. But who's gonna step up? And a lot of people have kind of the incentive to step up because a lot of people, both on and off camera, very close with Bryan Danielson, talked about. Oh, and there was a lot of tributes from a lot of people all across social media. But yeah, so you have plenty of people who are willing to step up to take on this new faction, and to honor her, of course, Bryan Danielson. And you had Darby Allin, who lost his title shot, and a lot of people feel like he's the one to potentially take the world title from John Moxley. And you have Orange Cassidy, who's battled John Moxley in the past. As I'm sure when he comes back, Eddie Kingston will probably have something to say about this because he's battled not only Moxley but Claudio as well. So you see it kind of build from there. So it's one of those things where we have to additionally see how things will unfold, but things are unfolding, of course. Like I said, do I understand why it probably upset some people and made some people uncomfortable? Yeah, I'd say so. But I think it does make sense in that regard. Or Danielson doesn't look like a total loser. He went out fighting to the end, and I even saw some people complaining about him passing out instead of like tapping out or being pinned. But like the passing out showing Danielson had to be put down, not tap out. I think the tap out probably would have been worse in my opinion, and because it showed him like giving up or whatever. But I think in terms of send off, this definitely sends a message. And you know it's bad when even Nigel McGuinness looks mortified at what's going on. And he's the one who hated Danielson the most, to the point where he came back in the ring and got Oasis back together just so he could fight Danielson. But so we'll have to see how things unfold, and we'll have to see who's the puppet master behind this stable. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In terms of strongest and weakest match of the night, the strongest match, there are a number of contenders. I think for the storytelling, I'll probably go for the main event. And in terms of pure like fun factor, probably the International Championship match, but not a bad card on here. And actually, before I sign off, going back to the TNT title match, I don't think I've had the chance on camera to talk about the new TNT title design that Jack Perry's introduced. Continuing with the rich tradition of people getting custom TNT titles, Jack Perry's, it looks dark. It kind of has the splatter, which I guess maybe is supposed to symbolize blood. I'm not entirely sure, but kind of an interesting design. It's not flashy because it's not supposed to be, but kind of an interesting design for him there with the title. If I had to pick the weakest match of the night, like I said, not a bad match on this card. Or maybe Jericho versus Briscoe. But again, and definitely not a bad match on the card at all. I'd say top to bottom, a very solid show. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you can see the drops. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on WrestleDream and my review. Did you like AEW WrestleDream this year? Did you like select my review of WrestleDream this year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.